There are currently 934 moves in Pokemon, but there has always been one move that's troubled me for the longest time. Since my first time playing Pokemon SoulSilver after I first evolved Quilava into Typhlosion, I've always wondered, what was its secret move? 13 years later and I still don't know what the move looks like, what it does, or if it even existed in the first place. So today I've decided to end my long-lasting confusion and create and animate Typhlosion's secret move. But what is Typhlosion's secret move anyway? You know, I could just make something up, but luckily my curiosity back then wasn't spawned from nothing, as this process took lots of time and extensive research into everything the game has, leaving no stone unturned. Actually, it's just 2 Pokedex entries on Typhlosion, but these 2 entries have dated back to the original Gold and Silver games to still being mentioned in current games today. However, the specific entry that describes Typhlosion's secret move is this one. It has a secret, devastating move. It rubs its blazing fur together to cause huge explosions. Now I know what you may be thinking, isn't Typhlosion's secret move Eruption? Well, I thought so too in the past, but there are 2 big reasons why that isn't the case. Number 1, other Pokemon can learn this move. Like seriously, you can't have a move be a secret or signature move if other Pokemon can learn it. As for the second reason, this one is a bit more relevant. Let's look at Typhlosion's Pokedex entry again. It says it rubs its fur to cause huge explosions. Eruption's animations in none of the games have explosions, nor does it involve rubbing furs. Looking at the list of Pokemon that can learn Eruption, some of them don't even have fur. Now that we have a basic understanding of what Typhlosion's secret move is supposed to look like, we can now get to creating the move. But there is one more thing that I need to address before that. We need a place to show off the secret move, of course, so I created this dome stadium. Yeah, it's not very impressive, and from this angle you can't really tell those are supposed to be seats, but hey, that's not the important part. Now we have an area where the secret move can be created. As for creating something special like a secret move, we have to give this move some exposition, lore if you will, as it will not only make the move's existence make sense, but will also give it more of a special feeling when using it, which is why I made a new ability for Typhlosion. Now this ability isn't just a few words I made up to fill space. I took the liberty to actually give this ability an animated cutscene. The only problem is that I can't make this ability cutscene feel special if there is nothing for it to transition from. That's why I also made an idle animation for Typhlosion. Yup, since I know how much you guys liked those in the past video, I wanted this one to be better than the ones in my previous video, which is why I took a bit more time for this idle animation, spending around probably a combined time of 3 to 5 hours on it. I say probably because I didn't record this part, but that was because I didn't really know what I wanted to do for this idle animation, as Typhlosion's design is a bit limited. Plus I wanted to say some stuff for the ability and move animations. Also, something about low storage space, whatever that means. But I went with the sort of aloof bobbing motion that transitions to Typhlosion getting angry at something. What exactly, I don't really know. But I create this animation in mind with Typhlosion's characteristics in the game, sort of referencing its second Pokedex entry, which we will come back to in a little bit. With that in mind, I also made some when Typhlosion's rage peaks, its eyes turn red, and its fire mane goes bigger and brighter. I also made the glow for its fire mane and its base appearance a bit brighter to make it look a little more flashy, but not too much. Anyways, I made the little shaking part with the noise modifier on the X location value, and I had to set the scale to 0.1, or else it would, yeah, do that. After that, it calms itself down and loops the animation all over again. And yes, it does actually loop. Now, this idle animation isn't the real star of the show, as this was just something I needed for the next part, which is Typhlosion's ability. I drew inspiration for Typhlosion's ability from the other Pokedex entry that I briefly mentioned earlier, which says, if its rage peaks, it becomes so hot that anything that touches it will instantly go up in flames. As Typhlosion is always angry, especially during battle, this new ability is called Ballistic Outburst. What does Ballistic Outburst do, you may ask? Well, it does this. This ability, at the start of every turn, Typhlosion has a 70% chance of entering the enraged state for 2 turns, in which it will deal 1.5 times damage, and its speed is increased by 1.2 times, but it can only use attacking moves. After leaving the enraged state, it cannot enter the enraged state for a whole turn. The enraged state will be cancelled upon switching out. Now this ability basically puts Typhlosion into a berserker-like state, and I know what you're thinking. Isn't this ability broken? Maybe. Am I biased in any way? Nah, definitely not. I even drew sketches of the ability animation, but there are 2 problems with this. 1, I am terrible at drawing, and 2, I used a mouse for this as I don't have a drawing tablet, which is why I just stuck to posing Typhlosion in 3D instead of just persisting to draw everything, as that wasn't going to help much with such atrocities. Questionable drawings aside, I did promise an ability animation, so here it is. The ability animation is cool and all, but that's not what you all came here for. Like I said, this was all set up so that way I could sort of give Lord of Typhlosion's secret move. Now, when it comes to making a secret move, or just a move animation in general, it involves not only the movement of the Pokemon, but the effects and structure of the move itself, which means that it will be easier to animate the Pokemon's movement first, then create the special effects. Oh yeah, before we start animating, I forgot that we are missing one thing to help us showcase the secret move. That one thing is of course an opponent Pokemon. Now, there are some good candidates for which Pokemon can be a good target, but I think a good Pokemon for this task will be Urshifu. Why did I choose Urshifu exactly? Well... Wait, that can be blocked? Oh no. I didn't know that can be blocked. There's no way. Let me look at... There's no way. Oh! Its ability. Wow. Yeah, if I knew that, I would have just attacked. Yeah, Urshifu terrorizing me in VGC is enough of a reason for it to be subjected to this move. With the victim, I mean opponent chosen, now we can start with animating Typhlosion's secret move. At this point is where things started to go wrong. I kept trying different things for the move animation, but they'll either not look good, like, at all.
Excuse me, what the actual...
What I want to do would conflict with Typhlosion itself. What I mean by the second point is that the problem with Typhlosion is that it doesn't have a standard design, as its legs are pretty small, and really the more frustrating part to work with was its short arms, as they wouldn't reach out without it looking incredibly obvious that they were unnaturally stretched too far. This was so much of an issue that I had to actually shrink Urshifu down just so that Typhlosion could reach it. But like I said, this change ended up minimally helping as I had to go through so many different versions of the move that I was starting to doubt if this was even possible. The animation just wasn't coming together and I was getting things like this happening. In fact, I really almost scrapped this whole idea and switched to another animation. But I had to make it work. I just couldn't give up on this idea and started to just animate for hours on end. Through this process, I realized something simple that I overlooked. Something that could help me figure out a way to bypass the disadvantages of Typhlosion's small arms. That was through the use of camera angles. Yeah, I know, not really a groundbreaking revelation, but this really did help as close-up shots in different angles really improved the animation. I also changed how the beginning of the animation would play out, as this was not only a more doable route, but it actually turned out better than what I had originally planned. The rest of the movements were pretty simple, but I don't want to give away too much just yet. At this point, I will usually go in more depth about the animation process, especially for the VFX. But I think for this one, I don't want to spoil the surprise and just show you all the move first. Now here's Typhlosion's secret move, Bakfun Ignition. And did I just put Typhlosion's Japanese name in front? Yeah, why not? It sounds cool. Now that you've all seen the move, I'm going to explain a little about the move animation and VFX a bit more in depth. For the animation, I originally came up with Typhlosion grabbing the opponent by the face and letting off multiple chain explosions. The one-handed slam was actually one of the improvisations I had to make due to the original idea not working out, and from the looks of it, I say it worked out pretty well. There isn't too much more to say about the movement itself, as the only other noteworthy thing is that I used a constraint to make Urshifu move according to Typhlosion's hand, so that way it was easier to animate it being grabbed and slammed by the face. So yeah, that's pretty much it for that part. Now I'll start with explaining the move VFX. Explosions. An explosion was of course the most important part of the move, that's pretty much its whole identity. Typhlosion's name is literally Explosion with just different letters at the beginning. My point is that I had to get the explosion right. At first I actually modeled the explosion from this image I found online, but when I made these, I guess, string of cloud parts, the animation would have been tedious, but I also just didn't think it looked good the way I made it, so I scrapped those parts of the explosion cloud and just made a shader that reacts to lighting and called it a day. I also added this black line detail around it, not sure what to call it, but it made it look slightly better, so I kept it there. Oh, and I know the Pokédex entry originally said multiple explosions, but I couldn't really get that to work as just playing this one explosion cloud in Blender was already destroying my computer, and adding even one more, let alone a third, would ruin whatever is left of my computer, so I hope you all can forgive me for that. I even added this shockwave effect that will post to the ground, which is made through a shader. Particle emitters were also a big help, as I used it throughout various points in the animation, like for the spark effects and explosion particles, and also the debris, which is made through fracturing a cube that I just gave a brown texture to. Pretty simple stuff. But let's move past that boring stuff and talk about the last thing I wanted to cover and something that is a little more exciting. That's right, impact frames. Now, I've done impact frames in the past, sometimes pretty good, and other times pretty bad. After a good amount of trial and error, I found a system that works for me. The way I make impact frames are through the compositor and blender. I just put a color corrector, constant color ramp, and a glare node, and instant impact frames. But there are problems with this. Number one, you have to mess around with it like a lot. The impact frames took me around almost 3 hours to complete in here, but I ended up using not even half of the ones I created. And number two, that you can't really customize how you want the impact frames to look like if you were to draw them instead. So I use shapes with shaders to sort of give a fake rough texture that you will normally see in traditionally drawn impact frames. Which is why I don't really recommend this method of creating impact frames to people unless you're in the same specific scenario I'm in, where I can't draw nor do I have a drawing tablet. So yeah, after the impact frames are created, I just throw a few filters on it and I'm done. Oh, I also forgot to give Bakufu Ignition a move description. Okay, here it is. Bakufu Ignition has 120 base power and 100 accuracy, and if it is used while enraged, it has a 100% chance to burn the target, kind of referencing its other Pokédex entry. I think this is fair and balanced. Probably. Okay, that was a lot. But even though this move animation at the least I hope looks cool, this move couldn't be implemented into the game, at least in this form. This move will not only probably crash the game as there is too much geometry going on, but it is also not realistically possible to animate Typhlosion grabbing every single Pokemon by the face, as some Pokemon are either as small as Sunkern or as big as a Groudon. But don't quote me on that though, I'm not a game developer. With that said, I'm still happy that I was able to not only finish this animation, but finally uncover what Typhlosion's secret move is. Well, at least what I think it is. If you all enjoyed this video and want to see another Pokemon get a new secret move, let me know down below, as this could be an ongoing series. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.